Howdy all, grab yourselves a beer. It is time for some quick discussion of the Flashback event economy and what's going to be different to normal. So this is going to be looking at strategies if you want to acquire a Headhunter in this league and you want to basically get it as quickly as possible so you can enjoy it for as long as possible, then this is a guide aimed at you. Now firstly, if you've followed my advice in previous leagues, you'll know that I place a huge premium on getting to maps fast and on selling maps quickly, as well as selling just serviceable endgame gear. So you sort of a life and 3 resist type rings. And that's going to still apply, but with a couple of caveats we'll get to. You'll notice that there's 11 different mods that are available in the Flashback League. There's 2 Exiles, 2 Invasion Bosses, 1 Breach, 2 Strongboxes, 3 Tormented Spirits, 2 Parandus chests with a chance of Kadiro, Beyond, 3 rare monster packs with Nemesis mods, 3 magic monster packs with Bloodlines, 1 Abyss, or 2 Harbingers. Now 2 of these are going to have really transformative effects on the economy, actually 3, but let's start with the one that everyone recognises is going to have a huge effect. 3 out of 11 maps will have 2 additional Harbingers. This means that from Chamber of Sins in Act 7 onwards, you're going to be seeing Harbinger orbs and Horizon orbs drop quite a bit. It's no surprise that Harbinger had the cheapest maps that have ever existed. By the end of Harbinger, Tier 16 maps were selling for 4 to 6 Chaos, depending on which one it was. Now, this is not quite going to pump as many Harbinger orbs and hence beachheads into the economy as having Harbingers in every single zone, but it will be fairly close to it. Harbingers are one of the more lucrative options to run, so keep that in mind. This means that it will be much quicker to advance your Atlas at the start of the league. You can use Harbinger orbs to skip entire tiers and just to rocket yourself up the Atlas progression. You can run beachhead maps. You can do all sorts of crazy things to get yourself to the center of the Atlas as quickly as possible. Secondly, and obviously, we have Parandus. Parandus means that a lot of typically very rare uniques will be more accessible than usual, and this includes Headhunter. A significant percentage of Headhunters will come from Kadiro Parandus. Advise buying yourself 20,000 coins as soon as this is possible. Keep an eye on the various trade chats, because sometimes someone that doesn't have enough coins will say, hey, I want to sell my Kadiro, and that is offering a Headhunter or offering some other premium unique item like Inspired Learning the Jewel. If you've got 20,000 coins, what you should do is get in touch with this person and don't scam them. Be generous. Make sure that you pay them well for the service. And ideally, what I'd say is take basically, even if it ends up being that you have to promise to pay them 15 exalts later when you can. They may or may not trust you, but I suggest act with integrity, do what you say you will, and you've got a lot of chances of picking up a Headhunter out of someone else's good luck. But do just remember to reward them for it. The third thing, though, that I think will surprise people is the 2 Invasion Bosses. This is going to have a big effect on the economy. Not because Invasion Bosses drop a lot of loot, they're only a little bit better than Rogue Exiles in that sense, and certainly not on par with a Breach, but because of my Divination card. The price of protection I've checked can drop from from Invasion Bosses in any tier of content according to PoEDB's data mined information. Because this was added in Delve and there hasn't been a flashback since Delve, so Invasion Bosses haven't been highly available since Delve, haven't been able to test this in practice, but the card has a high drop rate. It's not one of those cards that drops from a specific boss but only 1 in 20 kills. It seems to me that you'll get 1 about every 4 kills of an invasion boss. So this means that you're just going to be swimming by the time you've leveled in copies of this card, I believe. I'm open to being wrong on that. There may be some other hidden drop mechanisms that I can't see, in which case maybe you won't get as many of this card as I'm expecting. If you do get lots of them though, just by naturally leveling, killing invasion bosses as you go, when you get to endgame, you're going to be able to use Horizon Orbs to transform your Tier 16 Chateau maps into different Tier 16 maps. They will stay with a map, because Chateau is base Tier 10, if you use a Horizon Orb on it, the Elder Chateau, it will become an Elder version of a different tier 10 map, such as Moon Temple if you're lucky, or Scriptorium if you're of average luck, or Factory if you're unlucky. And then if you Horizon it again, it can go back to Chateau, or it can go to a different tier 10 map. I think there'll be possibly some arbitrage opportunities there, where if you can buy Horizon orbs or use ones you've looted yourself, and also use them in conjunction with the Elder Chateau map divination cards, you may be able to sell tier 16 maps to people that aren't familiar with that strategy. Now, all of this means that you can be in tier 16 maps on day one, assuming that your character is powerful enough to defeat combat encounters in tier 16 maps. If your first high tier map is an Elder Chateau, then what can drop on the Atlas is Chateau map and adjacent maps. So you'll be able to get as high as a tier 11 map drop while you're running an Elder Chateau. So keep that in mind. You won't get tier 16 Guardian maps that way, and you will not get Elder Chateaus back, but you will get maps that matter. So in terms of economic impacts, firstly, the window to sell maps at huge prices will be much narrower than usual. Secondly, the window to profit from Zana's Shaper map mods will be narrow, and consequently, I don't think it's that important to earn these on day one, like it is in basically any other normal league. Third, you can get into tier 16 maps super fast and stay in 12 plus from day one, and beachheads will also help fix sustain gaps as well for you. So this means that you will be able to absolutely be swimming in high tier maps and selling them off. And fourthly, as mentioned, there may be arbitrage opportunities on selling other non-Chateau Elder versions of tier 10 maps. Now, keep in mind that the synthesis mechanics will still be active. There will be power gamer demand for Essences of Zeal, for plus 58 stat essences, and for 2 locked items with tier 1 base types and one tier 1 mod. So for instance, a good bow base type that has plus 2 to socketed bow gems and a second locked mod, that's going to be something that will be of value. And you'll want to get your hands on those and then sell and basically hold them until those people have enough to pay for them. There'll be crafter demand for some other mixed fractured items as well. Keep in mind this is a last hurrah for the synthesis content as it currently stands, and as a result, standard players are going to be desperate to get their hands on Onslaught boots. You're going to be desperate to get their hands on all sorts of other things that are going legacy, and that will be much, 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 much more expensive when they go legacy. Tier 1 energy shield bases, regardless of their fractured mods, regardless of their explicit mods, should be sought after. So that is Val Regalia, that is Hubris Circlet, that is Titanium Spirit Shield, and Sorcerer Boots, Sorcerer Gloves. You'll want to pick up a lot of these, and you'll want to be actively trying to turn them into good crafts. And Nulls are going to be hard to predict. I think they're going to be a lot lower than they were in Synthesis because of Harbinger, even though there will be this fear of missing out and desperation to beat the legacy status of synthesized items. So there'll be a lot of demand for them, but there'll just be so much more supply that will swamp it. Finally, there's going to be no map sustain issues, and that's going to mean that Zana's various map mods are going to be less important to people. There will be a section of the player base that will be using Zana Beyond in order to juice up their maps for racing purposes and trying to get their hands on one of those demigods items. Those people will just use Beyond because it adds more XP to a map, and they'll be using it in conjunction with Beyond as a flashback event zone. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Those people will be net consumers of chaos. The other thing, though, is that there is no essence in the flashback event details, in the various options of map mods. So I suggest that once you're established, once you've got a base of currency, that you use Zana Essence on pretty much every map, and use this without using Val Orbs. This will be really good for being able to absolutely turbocharge the amount of essence drops you can get, which you can then sell to the people that are trying to craft things before they go legacy. Lastly, there's much less incentive to do Eternal Labyrinth and bosses in this league. Bosses are important in a normal league because you need to do things that will amp up your sustain, but the Labyrinth doesn't have any interactions with the flashback mechanics, and the bosses don't really, like the harder bosses like Shaper and Uber Elder and the like. For a lot of players, they're important to get on to make progress through Zana's Memory Fragments quest, but I think a lot of people won't be doing them this league. So expect the items that are gated behind these encounters to be more expensive than usual, and don't rely upon being able to get your hands on a particular Eternal Labyrinth enchant. It may even be important to pick a build that is not reliant upon a Labyrinth enchant, that doesn't scale very much with it. Of course, you can play around with this by crafting plus item level 86 or lower early on, plus 30 energy shield hubris circlets, and enchanting them via running Labyrinth yourself. If I'm right and there's not very many people running Eternal Labyrinth, this will be a real money spinner. Keep in mind that if you get a premium enchant on an 86 hubris with plus 30 ES on it, you should be able to sell that for 50 exalts, at least once people have got enough currency that 50 exalts is possible. Lastly, the XP race is going to matter, so that means that standard players will want to win it because they want those sweet demigods that they can then either show off in town with, or that they can then sell for some exorbitant amount of mirrors in standard league. So pushes to 95 will matter, pushes to 100 will matter, and this means pure breachstones will sell for more than they have in previous leagues. Anyways, that's my economic overview of this league. If you've got any questions, fire them away below.